Gail Hoag. I'm here with my husband Gregory. It's spring outside, and there's some things we've been thinking about that we wanted to share. One is inspired by the fact that we've got teenage daughters, one of whom is thinking about college. The conversation comes up all the time. What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? What do you want to be when you grow up? And it got us to thinking and talking about something kind of fun, because we've been on this mission of creating sacred geometry for many years. And certainly when I was a young person, I never would have thought about anything like this. And I imagine that our children will develop all kinds of things that they have yet to discover. What I did know, though, at that age was that I wanted to make a difference in the world. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I saw things going on around me, and I wanted to see a world that was more loving, more compassionate, more considerate of all people, a world that honored the environment, honored the native traditions. I always loved those. And it was a matter of time before I started to find my way. The first that really hit me was in art. And I explored life as an artist for many years and developed paintings that what I realized I was doing was creating environments that would be color fields and energy flows and all kinds of wonderful places that someone could come in front of and meditate in front of, become contemplative in front of, and use as an environment to find their way, to find source, to find their connection. And that was back in the 70s, in the early 70s that I was doing that. And then I happened on Buckminster Fuller. As soon as I started to read and listen to the words of Buckminster Fuller, I knew that sacred geometry was going to be something very special in my life because I was wanting to understand the universe. And what Bucky showed me was the building blocks of universe, that there was structure, there was pattern, there was elegance, and there was simplicity to the universe. And when I saw that, I knew there was something really important. And in fact, it did lead me to meeting you.
It did. I had my little box of geometric forms that I've been making. People sometimes ask me, how did you get into this? It's not something that I got into, it's something that came out of me. And it's coming out of me because it comes out of all of us. Everything in creation follows pattern, rhythm, cycle. I mean, this is what science studies, is what are the patterns? Can we duplicate the pattern of what someone else has done in the way they created this experiment or the way they have this model? And what happened for me was in the early 70s, I was starting to explore working with different teachers, different gurus, different meditations. I received knowledge from a lot of different people, a lot of different gurus. I received different types of meditations, and I was very attracted to pyramids. It was a time when Patrick Flanagan had written a book, and he's become a friend since then. And his book was about pyramids and the power of pyramids. So I built a pyramid, started sleeping in it. I then progressed to building a really expensive pyramid that cost over $50,000 with a friend of mine in Boulder. And we took turns sleeping in it. It moved so much energy that it set off this flow of energy from the earth, this kundalini, which is an Hindi term for the serpent of energy that flows up the spine. And so when that energy started going through me, what started happening is I started connecting to a bigger part of myself. I started connecting to beings and intelligences and a consciousness that could communicate to me from a higher dimension, from another level of my beingness. And the way that energy communicated was often through pattern, rhythm, cycle, which is what sacred geometry is. Sacred geometry is the exploration of how everything goes together. And the way we look at our bodies and plants and animals, they all follow very particular patterns. And so it goes with the mineral kingdom and the way the sun moves around the center of the galaxy, and the way our planet moves around the sun. It's certain cycles that move us through certain patterns of energy. And the more I got into it, the more it revealed itself. And as I was sharing with someone recently, I started picking up the information inside. It wasn't like I read a book about sacred geometry. As a matter of fact, I remember you introducing me to a sacred geometer, and I said, oh, and I made this thing the other day. And he says, oh, that's called a stellated dodecahedron. And I went, it has a name? I didn't know what I called an icosahedron, an isocahedron, I didn't know what these things were. All I knew was they were elements that I was seeing and I was feeling, and that was the important part of it. I felt energy from these things, and other people, when I would put them above them or near them, they would feel energy. And we all started realizing there is energy that wants to flow through this life of ours, and that when you have things that are resonant with that energy, just like a C tuning fork that will vibrate with a C tone, you could have a geometry that would vibrate with an energy. And so it was, the journey began, and that was 40 years ago, in the early 70s, that I started experimenting with all this. And it led me into a place where I didn't even want to read anything about sacred geometry. For 10 years, I didn't. I totally stopped reading all books. I stopped watching things. I just wanted to go inside and discover what was real inside me. And then when I read books, I would go, oh, I can relate to that because I discovered it in me. I can relate to what those people are saying about what is their truth because I discovered parts of that truth in me. And that's the exciting thing, that all of the stuff that we share, all it can possibly do for you is just strike chords within you that you go, oh, that's true, or oh, that doesn't work for me. And then we start drawing together into something that Bucky, I love Buckminster Fuller too, because for me, it was the part of synergy that he brought to things, and how I don't know if he made up that word, but he did. I thought he did, because it's the way you work together with bringing different elements so that the final product is much greater than just the addition of the elements, because they synergize. They bring something where it becomes something even greater. And something that my guidance I was sharing with you this morning, we didn't even know what we were going to talk about today until we talked about it in the shower. And that's our plans. These are my notes, there's nothing there, because it's just going to be what's coming from our hearts at the moment. And the important thing about synergy and what I wanted to share was my guidance. I was once asking him, well, if I bring all these different elements together, how does it add up to make something so powerful? And one of the things they said was the most important aspect of what you're doing is the fact that every single element that you brought together, you were focused. Your intent was to be of service, and to help human beings evolve. You know, it's always for the evolution of human beings, the evolution of love. That's what allows human beings to grow, human beings to work together with the planet, with each other. It's when we bring through that love. And every single thing I ever did, I always was thinking, I always was working with the intent that this is to serve others. And it's the same thing you were going through.
It is. And when I